Senator Menéndez, what purpose?
Speak on final passage, Mr. President.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I rise in opposition to House Bill 1106 because I'm concerned about the message this bill sends our LGBTQ plus youth. The bill doesn't promote the safe, supportive environment that all children are entitled to, regardless of how they choose to identify. This legislation and the message it's sending will cause irreparable harm to our state's LGBTQ plus youth. These are youth who already are at a higher risk for suicide and self-harm. And even if the lack of acknowledgement towards a child's preferred pronouns or name causes severe emotional and mental distress and harm, it cannot be considered abuse or neglect under this bill. Members, where could this lead us to? I think it could lead us to more LGBTQ plus youth self-harm and suicide. Members, you've heard me give these numbers before, but I'm going to say them again so it's crystal clear. Our LGBTQ plus youth are more than 4 times as likely to attempt suicide. They also report significantly higher rates of self-injurious thoughts and behaviors compared to their straight and cisgendered counterparts. And most notably, we know that after states pass anti-transgender legislation, that suicide attempts by transgender and nonconforming teens increases. In fact, a recent study from 2024 shows that anti-transgender laws cause up to a 72% increase in suicide attempts amongst these children. Therefore, this bill will hurt children. And all of these statistics are not because of who they are, but rather how they are mistreated by society. I'll read a quote from the Trevor Project. LGBTQ young people are not inherently prone to suicide risk because of their sexual orientation or gender identity, but rather placed at a higher risk because of how they are mistreated and stigmatized in society. I'm also deeply concerned that this bill could open the door for conversion therapy, a dangerous and discredited that falsely claims to change someone's sexual orientation or gender identity or expression. Technically speaking, if we're sending our child to receive conversion therapy, which does not affirm the child's preferred name, pronouns, or sexual orientation, it wouldn't be considered abuse. And if we're concerned about abuse and neglect here, conversion therapy programs is where it all happens. In fact, many researchers have declared it a form of child abuse and human rights violations. Finally, if these children are not accepted in their own homes, they may have no choice but to leave. The youth homelessness is something no one wants to see, but it's a reality amongst our LGBTQ plus youth. Homelessness is not just a problem for adults, and it's not just youth sleeping on the street. It can look like a kid sleeping at their friend's house or couch surfing. And a disproportionate amount of runaway and homeless youth identify as LGBTQ plus and experience lower rates of family reunification than their straight and cisgendered peers. When kids are homeless, they are more vulnerable to being trafficked, raped, assaulted, and even killed. I know that nobody in this room wants to see a child go through these horrors, regardless of who they are. We know how human trafficking works. These traffickers prey on the vulnerabilities of children who need resources and who will do whatever they can to eat, be clothed, and have a roof over their heads. At the end of the day, no child deserves to be bullied, teased, outcasted, or hated. Children deserve love, care, and someone in their life who believes in them just as who they are. To any parents who may be watching, trust me, I understand. I understand that we work very hard to navigate and to find the best path forward for our children. And maybe sometimes it's hard for us to quite understand where they're coming from, whether that be due to our background, our culture, our religion. But at the end of the day, these are our kids. It is our responsibility to make sure they feel safe, loved, and cared for. I know that most of our parents, they mean well. And I know this bill is simply meant to protect parents, but I don't think anybody is actually trying to take kids away because parents don't see and understand their children for who they are. And that's just the bottom line. We have to understand that we don't get to decide how these children see themselves. And this is why I oppose this legislation. Thank you, Mr. President and members.